Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Justin from Plated by Dads. This is the first time that I'm going live on this channel, and I'm going to be doing some cool food interviews, people in the industry, people who are chefs, people who are just doing things in the food world. So my first guest today is Marcus Hollinger. Marcus is the co-founder of Portrait Coffee in Atlanta, Georgia. He's also the senior vice president of Reach Records, a record label. So I'm having Marcus come on to talk about Portrait Coffee and all the great and amazing things that they are doing. I know I said 9:30. My phone crashed right as I went live, and I had to do it again. So here we go. Marcus is joining us now. Yo.
Yo, what's up, Justin? How you doing, man?
Good, man. I'm glad to have you. I know it's kind of late, but I know you have a young one, so that young one is probably sleeping now.
Yeah, yeah, it's good timing. It's good timing.
Mine are being put to bed right now, which was some of the chaos of why I was a little late, and then my phone crashing right before I jumped on. But
I get
everybody,
it.
everybody, this is Marcus Hollinger, the senior VP of Reach Records and co-founder of Portrait Coffee. This is my Plated by Dad's page. Some people tuning in might know me from Rapzilla and the things I do there, but I'm a big, fat kid inside who loves food, loves restaurants. And this is my Plated by Dad's page, my page where I post lots of pictures of things that I cook and also pictures of other dads who can chef it up in the kitchen and doing cool things. So I kind of wanted to open it up to people in the food industry, chefs, someone like yourself who's making coffee. And I don't know anything about coffee because I don't drink coffee. So I was like, let's really like put myself to the test and talk about something I know nothing about. So you obviously love coffee.
Yeah,
So can you kind of speak on that love and that passion for coffee, and then how you made that transition into a business, into something that you were going to pursue?
yeah. So coffee, I think I got it. I tell people, man, I either like really, really good coffee or I like trash coffee. Um, I first started drinking coffee. I was a senior in high school, and I think I was working like three jobs to make money for to go to college. And one of the jobs I had was I was working at the mall, I was working at Taco Bell, and I was working at Goodyear. I was a mechanic. And
Wow.
man, working in that shop, yeah, I get up, 6 o'clock for work and go, you know, do oil and tires. And that's when I started drinking coffee. The other mechanics would make coffee. It was terrible, but I needed it to get through the day. So that's why I still love trash coffee to this day. Fast forward a little bit, getting into, yeah, Brandon, you know how it is. Fast forward a little bit, getting into college. I think I started really getting into coffee for real, for real. I learned about like the French press and things like that, and it was more so the ritual, and I think that stuck with me even to this day. Like it's the ritual, man. Like just that waking up in the morning, having something to slow me down a
Hmm.
little bit, something to give me just that cause for pause. Jump forward a little bit more. A friend of mine, Ray Spears, was in town. I'm living in Atlanta, and he took me to Brash Coffee, and he was just, really into it. And he ordered an Ethiopian. We go to the counter. He's like, "Yo, let me get the Ethiopian." And I was like, "How do you order coffee by region? Okay, I don't get it." And that was like another step forward for me just in the coffee journey. Um, and, fast forward a little bit more, I get this roommate, my buddy Aaron. He's super into it. He has like a lab, with the Chemex. And I didn't know what these things were. It looked like science, chemistry stuff.
Hmm.
And so, just him being my roommate, when he just come back from a trip to Rwanda, and he was kind of telling me all about like the geopolitics of coffee. And I'm a big, if you really want to kind of get me going, start talking to me about, justice issues, things like that, helping people, giving back, and I'm
Yeah.
tuned in. And he presented coffee to me from that angle. We become friends. Another one of my buddies, John, super into coffee. Every time I go to his house, he's making coffee and I'm tasting blueberries and crazy stuff, and I'm getting into it. And man, and so just by association, relationship, work, and I got into it on the business side because, my buddy Aaron, really smart guy, someone I believe in. And he comes to me one day, he's like, "Hey man, I'm thinking about starting a coffee company." And I'm the kind of guy, like, I'm always like, "Yo, go for it. That's my thing." I'm like, "Yo, I think you could do it. If there's any way that I could,
Hmm.
if there's any way I could support you, let me know. I'm down. I'll pull, my network, whatever. I'll help
Right,
you
right.
out." And he's like, "Okay." And he goes off. He writes the business plan, and then he comes back to me and he's like, "Man, actually, I think you should partner. You should be. I want to bring you in as a partner on this." And I was like, "Yeah, great." More so just really wanted to see him, just to really get behind him, you know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
started the company, man. It's just been going crazy. People have really been supporting it. So
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So from mechanic, super humble beginnings, mechanic, working your way up a record label, doing all sorts of marketing into where you're at now, and now a coffee entrepreneur, um, which is pretty crazy.
yeah.
It's it's crazy when you speak to people like in our space, like our creative space. It's like, what did you do? Like for me, it was like, what did you do right before you became a journalist? I was teaching science at a summer camp and delivering pizza. And then like right out of college, and I don't even know anything about science. There was just an opening at a camp, and my friend ran the camp, and he's like, "Hey, we have a teacher spot at a camp available." And he goes,
Yeah.
"It's the highest paying one." I was like, "Oh, cool. What is it?" It's like, "You got to teach science." All right, I'll figure it out. And then
Yeah.
from doing that, from delivering pizzas, and then I become a journalist. So it's just, and all through that time of being a journalist, they always say that journalists like working all through the night, whatever. And it's always like they have a cup of coffee is like their best friend. And that
Yeah.
was never me. So maybe I have to try now. Now I'm like in my 30s and now like a dad of two. So it's like maybe I will transition into that coffee soon enough.
Yeah.
Um, but I watched your video, about the name of Portrait Coffee. Essentially it's trying to capture the picture of Black history, paying homage to your ancestors. Pictures worth 1,000 words, you say in it. So, and even getting that Atlanta culture involved. So how did that name specifically, like, how did it land on Portrait? Because it has all those like different meanings in it.
So I think like when it comes to branding, that's what I do by trade. So by
Yeah.
now it's a fairly modular process that you know, get a group of people together for a cause, and we go through the process, and then, just through trust in the process, the output comes out. And, that trip to Rwanda for Aaron, I think he had a few things going on, like, the reality that he had worked in coffee throughout Atlanta a bunch, and
Hmm.
there's the side of coffee that we see on the state side, and to be, um all, to speak a little bit to my experience, I never really felt comfortable going into coffee shops because it always felt as if there were a certain aesthetic that I just didn't really, that didn't feel welcoming to me. It didn't feel that I didn't feel like I could be comfortable in the space because, one, it's a very tech specialty coffee is very technical. It's very, people are serious about it. But then
Yeah.
secondly, it seemed to attract a certain aesthetic of person. You know what I mean? The white guy with the flannel that likes um, Bunny Bear. At the time, that was what it was about. That wears the red wing boots, and I mean, I'm all for other people expressing themselves, but when it
Hmm.
starts to seem like a overarching aesthetic and there's something, protective about that. I tend to sort of, you know,
Yeah.
out of respect for myself, I tend to
Hmm.
want to keep a healthy amount of distance. And so, um, just with that, man, it was, knowing that on that coffee only comes from places where black and brown people are, but then when you go on the state side, you don't see black and brown people on the retail side. You don't see black and brown people on the cafe side. And we say, you know what, we want to change that, because if there's representation on the side where coffee is being produced and where coffee is being grown, and it was black farmers in Ethiopia that discovered coffee as a drink, then
Hmm.
it would only be just to start to bring that representation on the other side of things. So
Right. No, I feel it. That's awesome. So you kind of touched on this a little bit. Maybe you can go deeper, but the video kind of mentions the different levels and hoops that people have to jump through in this coffee hierarchy, like this kingdom of coffee. So can you break that down a little more?
yeah, I mean, so coffee, and these are all things that I've learned throughout the process, right?
Hmm.
Coffee is the second most consumed beverage next to water globally.
What? Yeah.
So when you think about that, this is a major industry, and the number of coffee drinkers it's not slowing down. People aren't drinking less coffee. The minute you have a cup of coffee and it hits you, I mean, you're in it you're a lifer, right? So you
Yeah.
can just start to think about like the economic opportunity that's there, and when you look at it as a commodity, the process of importing that from farm to import to distribution, all of those types of things, there will sort of be this. There's no incentive to want to be telling people who are not fitting the mold to come in, right?
Yeah.
That you have a stake in not making that an inclusive environment. And so I think just by rote, it's something that, it's not on our radars, and it's not something that folks are just welcoming us into. Even the coffee shop experience, it's not a space that you're necessarily welcomed in. So I think right there you can kind of start to see already how those things compound, and it's not a welcoming
Yeah.
environment. One other aspect of our story is the parallels that you see in Atlanta. We all live on the southwest side of Atlanta, and it's rapidly gentrifying. And if you know anything about the west end of Atlanta, there's a lot of history here, right?
Yeah.
This is the a lot of civil rights folks, King, Abernathy, all those folks, they had set up shop here. But now, as the economic opportunities are starting to flow, these people are being pushed out, and so we wanted to bring those two things together to not only project a picture of Black representation in coffee, but also bring that picture and then bring that dignity, to our neighborhood as well. So,
Yeah, man. That's super dope. I love that. I love that for sure. Now, I looking through your, Instagram and pictures, even your page, Portrait went through a little bit of a rebranding. So what was the purpose of like, doing a little bit of a reset?
yeah, I think the purpose really, it's kind of twofold. I think, um, it was what we had at first was good. No one on the outside was really asking for a rebrand, or it didn't really seem like,
Right, right.
folks really needed that. But I think for us, just in knowing how we wanted to articulate ourselves, it just felt like that first run didn't quite capture what we were going for. And then secondly, the way that the brand and the business has sort of started to take off, and the inbound requests
Yeah,
that we were starting to get, it really seemed as if we wanted to be able to position ourselves for what was coming. We want to show up well. So, some opportunities now, you go to grocery stores in Atlanta, you go to other coffee shops in Atlanta, and they're carrying Portrait. So we wanted to be able to
that's awesome.
articulate our presence in a way that when you walk in, so many people love the store, so many people identify, so many people support it. And even down to, the typography choices, we wanted people when they walk in the joint to immediately see like, yo, they got Portrait here. and they
Yeah.
can, they can show their support. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like a cultural community movement, like for
hmm
Atlanta. That's dope.
absolutely, absolutely.
Love it, man. All right, so let's talk about some of the collabs. I saw this. This was so cool. I didn't even know about it. The Foot the Bill program with Vans. Can you
hmm
talk a little bit about that? I mean, I saw. I was like, whoa! I was like, this is really like dope concept they got going on. I had no idea.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's funny because, one of my best friends, this guy since we were in the seventh grade, I think he's in here, Jamie. Man, we became friends from shoes, and shoes is something that we've been into since we were in
Yeah,
seventh grade. And when he saw it, he hit me up and was like, "Oh man, it's a big deal, bro. Can't believe it. You got your own shoe." But it really, man, I think that the Vans thing came about like many of the things that have come about through Portrait. Just folks really identify with the story, so their marketing folks reached out and they were like, "Hey man, we love what you guys got going on. We want to support you." And you know, it was really as simple as that. So our team was really excited, and we wanted to express ourselves and bring that delight to our community. And yeah, it was just as simple as that, man. It was just as simple as that.
yeah, that's super dope. And then the other one, of course, is the Unashamed. It's backwards, but it says Unashamed Coffee preamp. So what was I know you have an in there to make that happen, but how did like nah, Marcus, you got to talk to yourself. Nah, man, we can't do it.
Yeah.
But how did that come about, and how did Reach Records enter the coffee game?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, like the folks at Reach also really key to my experience with coffee. Like, you got folks like Ben Washer, who's someone I've always looked up to, someone I respect and love. And then you got Biz, who also our lead engineer over there. He's very serious about his coffee, and
Oh,
part
he's
of
an
the
engineer. He's in
yeah,
there all
all
day,
the
all night,
time, all
right?
day. Yeah, the coffee is very much fueled by the music. And you know me, man, I'm a very I like to think I'm an observant person. I think one of the
Hmm.
things that I love just about people is being able to kind of be around them and see what makes them tick, see what really kind of gets them going, what makes them move. And coffee is also one of those things that reach, man, like art, if you come intern at Reach, and I went through this, you have to learn how to make coffee at Reach, and not just like mechanic coffee, like my days at Goodyear. Like, you need to know how to make good coffee, right? And it's this thing, like when the coffee pot comes up, you got to get on it, or else you ain't gonna get no coffee that day. And
Yeah.
people take the coffee routine very, very serious there. But I was also inspired by Biz. Like this guy is, a lot of people don't know. You don't know Biz unless you need to know Biz. And if
Hmm.
you know Biz, very special guy, man. This dude is a technology like genius. Like he just understands studio gear, how it works, what the latest thing is, and when it's coming out. And he's just super, super, super in it. And so, um, and the folks at Reach, knowing that I'm a partner at Portrait, very supportive. I mean, they just very,
Yeah.
very supportive, very supportive. And they're always talking about Port Marcus. We see you, man. Portrait, we support, we love you, man. Cool. And so one of the things I oversee is our e-commerce store, and one of the guys on the team is like, "Yo, what if we could carry some coffee?" And I was sort of like, "Oh, yeah, I think we can make that happen." And so just from the branding side, I thought it made a whole lot of sense. I thought it went right
Yeah.
in with what Reach is doing, and then down to the name, the preamp. It's like that studio gear I really pulled from my relationship and the things I learned from Biz to say like, yo, the preamp is kind of like what the preamp is to the music process, coffee
Okay.
is to the person. The preamp amplifies the sound so that you get good sound quality, and it makes it receivable, makes it,
Yeah. Yeah.
loud enough and crisp and clear. And coffee, you have a good cup, it gets you going, it kind of amplifies your system, so you can get into the day. And like an engineer might make a beautiful record, a person get that right cup of coffee, you can make a beautiful day. And I think for Reach, man, like just what Reach stands for and what it does, it's an opportunity to further create community. A good cup of coffee shared between two people it can spark dialogue and it can spark
Yeah.
conversation. And what we're doing at Reach is it's all about, what we believe is the
Hmm.
most important, conversation you can have with the person. So you bring all that stuff together, man, and that's where the preamp, that's where the Reach getting into the coffee game kind of, comes from.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's cool. And I saw that you guys also just won Artisan of the Year for Slow Food Atlanta. So what's it like to be recognized in your city like that, especially since your whole mission was to kind of give back to Atlanta?
I mean, it's huge, man. I think so. We won. I think Eater had named us a top coffee shop, top 20 coffee shop in Atlanta before our cafe is still not open.
That was
Um,
my next question. Yeah.
we could talk about that, and then
Yeah.
at Atlanta ATL magazine, we were on the cover of that at the end of the year. So there was the recognition there, and then we won a Sprudgie Award, which Sprudgie is like the Grammys of coffee. And
Ah,
that
nice.
that award was for most notable roaster, and then this one. And those things are special, man. I mean, I think we have sort of this internal motto where we're certainly not chasing those things, because that can become a distraction from the work, from what it is that we're actually trying
Hmm.
to do. But it matters. It matters a whole lot because again, it authenticates the mission. There are some conversations that we're having right now, to bring awareness to some international crisis, some international
Yeah.
humanitarian efforts, and that stuff's gonna come live here pretty soon. But when you have those accolades behind you, it authenticates. Now we can say, hey, okay, cool. If the gatekeepers of the coffee community love our coffee, love what we're doing, great. Then that means we're going to be able to use that as a platform, to get people to buy into some of these more important issues. So.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned I saw like even way back, like at points last year, be like, oh, coffee, the coffee shop portrait is coming, blah, blah, blah. And then COVID happened. So I'm sure that caused lots of delays. So that's still not here yet. So maybe talk about that a little. And also, are you actually roasting the coffee from that facility? Is there a separate facility? Like, what's that whole dynamic?
Yeah, yeah. So we were gonna open the cafe up. COVID happened, and we pivoted last year, March. This is about a year ago. We pivoted and said, okay, let's focus on e-commerce. Because prior to that, we were doing pop-ups all around Atlanta, and people would
Okay.
show
Okay.
up, and it was a real cool thing, real good community. And so since that time, we focused on the construction at the roastery in the basement. So yes, we do roast the coffee in our facility right here in Atlanta. It's like, man, it's like a 3-minute drive from my house, from all of our
Nice.
houses. We all live here, in a
Hmm.
triangle. I'm on the southwest side. So we're roasting the coffee. And yeah, man, yeah, it's starting out. There was a shop here in Atlanta, Peach Coffee. They were letting us rent space on their equipment. So
Okay.
my buddy Aaron was waking up at like 5 o'clock, driving 45 minutes outside of town to roast couple 100 pounds a week, bring it back, bust it down, and get it out to people. But as of a couple of weeks ago, we're roasting at our own spot, and Aaron doesn't have to drive up 40 minutes outside the city anymore. So yeah.
And then that's awesome. So basically you're just putting a storefront on the roasting facility.
Well, so it's two. Our property is 2 levels. In the basement, in the back is the
Okay.
roast is the
Okay.
roaster, and the cafe will actually be upstairs. So now that we finished construction on the roaster, and that's where the team is working out of now, we'll start construction on the cafe upstairs, and so people will be able to come in and have a full retail experience with the shop. So.
Okay. And what's the ETA on that? Or are you no longer doing that because of everything?
Man, yeah, we would like to have it open this summer. So we've talked a little bit about doing the pop-ups out of the roastery again, like just kind of popping up the back. It's a garage style deal, so people can come up. We'll have it
Yeah.
open, get you some coffee, kind of catch a vibe. But hopefully by the summertime, we can have the construction of the cafe done.
Yeah. So I know the meticulous marketer in you kind of I know you kind of do things step by step, but is there a plan that you guys have or have come up with after the shop is open? Like, is this like, can we franchise this? Can we build a bigger production line? Or is it like, man, we just got to open the store first?
I mean, it's a lot of the conversations we have internally, man. It's. I think we're at a place now, even generationally, man, where there's just a lot of questions about what it means to be an entrepreneur. And,
Hmm.
one of the conversations that we have is sort of this idea that you have to become Amazon or bust, right? And we
Yeah.
really want to try to shy away from that. I just had my first child in January, which was a month after we went public with the whole business. My buddy Aaron is getting ready to have his first child, and we don't want this thing to be something that like takes us away from our children, and from
Right.
our
Yeah.
families. John, our other partner, he has a family, and he's very much a community man as himself. So we don't want this thing. We don't want to get caught up in chasing big for big's sake, and let this thing turn into something that's gonna pull us away from our families. At the same time, yeah, man, we've had people reach out about, yo, man, you guys should come to Alabama. Got some retail space down here for you. You should check out. Folks, in Greenville, South Carolina, are asking around. There's other real estate
Mhm.
offers that have been put on the table around the city of Atlanta. But I think as much as it pertains to the cafe, we really, really, really want to establish a presence, and a name for great hospitality. So that's going to be the focus. We want, when you come to
Yeah.
Portrait on the Southwest side, man, we want you to experience great hospitality, right? Like that's the other side of this story. And then further, I think what we're looking at now is beginning to use, the coffee as a platform, to tell bigger stories. So, like I said, there's some international humanitarian crisis that we've been made privy to.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start getting after some of those issues and using what we have to bring some awareness. So.
Awesome, man. So let's talk real quick about some of the flavors. The flavors you guys have are based on location or based on people. You got Rwanda, Peru, Costa Rica, Ethiopian. Then you got Stacy, Tony, Barry, Founders Coffee. So what's the significance of those names and those locations for the coffee?
Yeah, so I mean the locations are very much where the coffee is being sourced
Right.
from. So again, like, when you see Ethiopia, you can already assume that you got a strong blueberry hopping up out that thing, right? Like that's kind of, I'm also really into sneakers, and so like the Ethiopian coffee is like the Air Jordan of
Okay.
coffee,
Okay.
if you will. So you see that region, you know what's up, you know what you're getting. Then once you start getting into some of the other things, like the Stacy, right? Like that was an homage to Stacey Abrams and all the work that she had done here,
Hmm.
in Atlanta as a community organizer, and the role that she played in Atlanta and Georgia, being a significant player, in our
Hmm.
nation's, political, scene, just as well as some of the other ways that she's been a positive force in the community. So we wanted to honor her and name in a bag after her. Secondly, Barry, my buddy Aaron, he's very much into Barry Jenkins and his film, and that was another opportunity to pay homage to a Black person, that we really look up to, who we
Hmm.
felt bears a parallel. His film touches on, aspects of representation for Black folks that is
Yeah.
is is new. It's sort of avant-garde. So, there's that, and then Tony, John, our other partner, very much into Toni Morrison, and so just wanting to bring some significance to her work, to pay homage to
Hmm.
her work, and bring some, just heighten awareness around her work. And so we've got if you ever get a chance to come to Atlanta, one of our pop-ups, we did a cardamom, spiced, milk based coffee drink. It's called Dion Viv. And that, I'm very much a Fresh Prince guy. I grew up on that. And so you can go to some ice cream shops around town and they carry Dion Viv.
Nice.
And you
Which
can
one
walk
is it
in.
though? Is it the
Big,
OG one or the new one?
oh, it's this OG, man. It's definitely. But it's up to you. It's how you order it. So if you would have come to the pop-up, it's a little bit of play on it. If you want it with extra milk, then you know what you're getting into there. But if you want it as it comes, we're talking OG and big.
It's fun, man. So lastly, how important is it to support local businesses and communities, especially during this crazy time? Like, I mean, you actually get to be part of both aspects. Like, you get to see how the music industry has changed throughout COVID, and now you're dealing with retail and production. And so I'm sure you have a lot of perspective on this.
Yeah, I think, man, and there was a point in time in which entrepreneurship was definitely about the small guy, right? Like most
Mm.
people, most businesses were started so people could just support their families. It wasn't about the way that we see it now. It wasn't about sort of
Yeah.
becoming a national or a global,
Hmm.
deal. And so I think there's a trend happening in our nation where I think we're kind of slowly getting back to that, where people are starting businesses out of necessity and as a means to really just
Yeah.
support their families. And I think when you support a small business, that's what you're buying into. You're buying into that person who is supporting their families, especially locally, right? Like you're investing in the character of your city. So folks know, and when you come to Atlanta, there's a couple shops, Spiller Park, Chrome Yellow, now Portrait Coffee, right? Like that, those things are associated. And you're
Yeah.
you're actually investing in the ecosystem of your city. You're making your city, you're making your neighborhood, your community a destination. Because you can't go anywhere. You can't just go anywhere and get these things, right? And
Yeah.
have these experiences. I think with COVID, especially so many people are losing their jobs here in Atlanta. We've seen some staple restaurants and bars and things close, things that we thought were
Yeah.
just going to be a part of the community forever. They're not making it. And what you're
Wow.
doing is you're supporting you actually. You're supporting your neighborhood, you're supporting your community, you're supporting your city by supporting a small or a local business.
Yeah. You keep that dollar circulating
Mm-hmm.
around your community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So anything else you want to add, say? You could throw some plugs in there for Portrait, whatever you got coming.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're very thankful for what's going on at Portrait. I mean, it really is the type of thing that the community has pushed it forward. We talk about it all the time. I mean, Google
Hmm.
has supported us. So many individuals and so many other organizations have supported Portrait. I think one thing I want to call people's attention to, and we're going to talk about this over at Portrait, is the Tigray genocide that's going on over in Ethiopia. And it's very hard for us to wrap our heads around some of these foreign humanitarian issues and foreign humanitarian crises. But I would encourage everyone, check out the hashtag Tigray genocide. That's Tigray genocide. Find out what's going on over there in Ethiopia, the birthplace of coffee, right? Like Ethiopia gave us coffee, and now we want to do our part to use coffee to bring the world back to Ethiopia. So
That's awesome, man. Appreciate hearing that. And where could everyone follow you? Follow Portrait Coffee?
yeah. So I mean, I'm on Instagram, Marcus Hollinger, first name, last name. You can follow Portrait Coffee at Portrait Coffee here on Instagram.
And listen, man, do you chef it up in the kitchen at all? Are you a cook or you're just a coffee maker?
I do a little bit of both, man. I got to give it up. My wife's a great cook. We've been trying our hand at eating vegan lately, and she's been making some cool meals. I like to use the big green egg. I'm an egghead, so any chance I get to go out there and get on the egg, make a pizza, or make some brisket
Nice.
or something like that, I love doing that. So.
Well, you got to submit something to this page so we can post you. Or if you want to make a video of Marcus Hollinger's how to make the perfect coffee for dads, I will post that. That'd be pretty funny.
Oh,
But
for
man,
sure.
yeah, you got to send me something. But man, I really appreciate you. This is the first time I'm doing this on this page. So sorry that you were the guinea pig, but hopefully this is the first of like many conversations based around food and local businesses and health and stuff like that, which is something I'm really passionate about. And it's totally away from music. So it's like a break for me,
Yeah,
as I'm
yeah,
sure for you too. It's like something different that you get to do. Like literally
absolutely.
for you, refreshing, like a nice
Yep,
cup of coffee.
yep.
Man, so we'll see where this comes. So I appreciate you giving me the time, man. And really enjoying seeing the journey. Like as soon as I saw
Absolutely.
like co-founder of something next to your name, I was like, oh, what's Marcus doing? And I was like, all right, I gotta get him on Plated by Dads because now he's a dad too.
Yeah,
So this
man.
is good, man. You
Absolutely.
you joined the club, so you got a lot going
Absolutely.
on in this last year or so.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's all good stuff, man. I'm just happy to be alive and happy to have some energy to bring some light, man. So thank you so much. I'm excited about what you're doing right here. And any
Thank
way I
you.
can support, man, let me know.
All right, yeah, send me that Marcus special of whatever you got,
I
and
got you,
that'll
bro.
help.
I got
All right,
you. I
man.
got you.
Peace. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Take it easy.
All right, man. All right, everyone. So that was Marcus, Senior Vice President of Reach Records, is a hip hop label. If you've heard of Lecrae and Minio, they are on that label, and he is also the co-founder, and this is the reason why we're here, of Portrait Coffee, a local Atlanta-based coffee roaster now shop that's coming. Again, my name is Justin Sarachik. You can follow me at Justin Sarachik. I'll drop it in here. And of course, you can follow this page, Plated by Dads. And if you are a dad, please submit your best plates. If you're a dad and you cook terrible, but you think it would be really funny and entertaining for people to see, send me that too. To Plated by Dads. That would be really funny. I'm set up in my kitchen. I'm never set up in my kitchen, but yeah, this was a lot of fun. Special thank you to Marcus. Everybody, check out Portrait Coffee. And I'm not sure who's going to be next, but there's going to be plenty of content coming on this page. I'll see you all next time. Peace.